Christmas morning. What's good, everybody? Welcome in to the Early Edge, your daily sports betting brand of record. We are powered, as always, by the almighty SportsLine, the best value in all sports betting, and it's not close. As you can see, I'm in a beautiful trailer all to myself, right in the middle of PGA Tour Live. Thank you all for tuning in this morning to the first round of the Valspar. But right now, that takes a back seat to March Madness. The first game starts in just a couple of hours. So very quickly, we got to look at yesterday, but we're really focused on today. Kind of a ho-hum day, although Maestro 1 for 2, M squared. That over was over at like the 9-minute mark. It was crazy. And, of course, me and Sia wins a showdown with EC. What's new? And then later today, Early Edge in 5. We've turned it into an entire evening preview, and the next 4 days we'll go through all of the early games at 4 o'clock with that crew as well. Now, let's not waste any time. Let's bring in the stars of the show, and we are focused on March Madness. Gentlemen, he is the Maestro. Year 3 for us, big boy, year 3. Let's go.
Let's go. I got my bracket in. My wife has her bracket. My 7-year-old has his bracket in. My picks are up. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Now, Counselor, last night, it was so nice. I was driving back from the studios in Fort Lauderdale. All of a sudden, my email goes, bling, and there was $50 from EC. I'm sure you got the same one.
Yeah, we got it at halftime. So that was very nice of him to put a rush order on it. Like, that game was over. I'm actually a little embarrassed I didn't make that an official play. Of course, we talked about it on the early wedge, but we talked about it on the early edge as well yesterday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We liked it. We didn't make it an official play. Fortunately, I cashed in the Clippers, so we got our official play in the books, but I'm a little embarrassed I didn't make ASU an official play. So that's on me, everybody.
That's okay. I still played it. I was all over the money line. I didn't even have to sweat it. Couldn't even watch it. I was in the car. Now, you heard Maestro say he has his bracket in. But my question is, do you? Now, the Early Edge universe, you've come through strong once again. We have over 3,000 entries into our March Madness Bracket Challenge. But you still have time. You still have 2 hours. You can go to cbssports.com/the early edge and get your bracket in and play against us. But, gentlemen, no storylines today. We don't have time for that. We're going straight to marquee matchups. And we're going to start with this one, ladies and gentlemen. How about Duke? Everybody is falling in love with Duke again. They are no longer a Cinderella. They're a 5 seed taking on Oral Roberts. As we've seen the last couple of years, they've had great March Madness runs as well. So, Maestro, let me start with you. Do we ride the hot hand entering March Madness, which is Duke, or no?
It's so interesting because both of these teams getting so much love. The spread indicates that the love is more for Oral Roberts, and that's where I lean. When you got Max Asmus, who averages over 22 points a game, controls the game. They don't turn the ball over at all, fewest turnovers in the nation. They have a 7-5 transfer from Arkansas, Connor Vanover. He will be rolling to the basket. That is something that Duke has had trouble with, a very active, athletic big who can roll. And, Duke, unbelievable run to end the season, finally playing to their talent, but beating up on a very weak ACC that comes in as the 7th best conference. My lean here is to ORU.
See, that's the key, is that the ACC was down a little bit. But we also like to lean into teams that are trending upward, and Duke is certainly in that category. What say you?
Well, yeah, if we want to get in the conference argument, anybody in the chat want to tell me where Oral Roberts plays? I mean, that's really the bottom line here is Duke. That's true. Duke is in a soft conference, or at least a soft ACC, but they've really done well in that soft ACC, especially down the stretch, not only winning, but covering. We were on them 3 times last week on the early edge, and they're beating up on good teams at this point. They won at North Carolina a couple of weeks ago, and then they started to really gain momentum. These 4 freshman starters are really starting to become sophomores before our eyes. And so I really like what John Shire has done with this team in terms of kind of giving these guys the requisite experience on the front end of the season. And we're seeing them sort of cash their chips in a little bit from an experience standpoint now. So, I have a pick related to this game. Spoiler alert, it's on the SportsLine app as we speak. But, I think when it comes to these two teams, one outclasses the other.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about it. And you bring up a very good point that he thought far enough ahead to play his freshmen in November and December, take it on the chin a little bit, but then knowing come February or March they'd be a good team, and they are right now. All right, question number 2. Gentlemen, 4 double-digit seeds. Let me read them to you. Alabama laying 24 against Texas A&M Corpus Christi, who won on Tuesday. Kansas, the number 1 seed, laying 22 against Howard. Arizona laying 14 against Princeton out of the Ivy League, and Tennessee AB squad laying 11.5 against Louisiana. Counselor, I'm coming back to you. Should we bet easy wins, or is it a trap?
Yeah, this is so interesting because a lot of these feel like a little backdoor cover-ish in terms of the underdog maybe covering here. I'm not going to make any official plays on this game. I think the Tennessee one is interesting. I think Louisiana, if I had to pick a team that's maybe most likely to cover of these four here, I think a lot of them are in play, but I think I would go with Louisiana against Tennessee.
Interesting. What about you, Maestro?
The one I like of this group is Kansas to make a statement after how badly they looked in the tournament final, and then they don't get the number one seed that will get them back to Kansas City. So I think they're ticked off about that. And both McCullough and Grady Dick are good to go. You look at a Howard team that lost to Kentucky by 32. They lost to Yale by 46. They give up a lot in transition. I think Kansas makes a statement.
There's no question, Maestro, that KU is upset, because now they're going to have to face potentially UCLA in the West instead of in Kansas City. And they feel like, as the defending national champions, as the number one seed, they should have got that. But it is what it is. Marquee matchup number 3. We're kind of taking some liberties with that statement, too. Gentlemen, moneyline parlays. We call these the EC specials. Now, I'm going to give you these 3 parlays. Virginia moneyline, Duke moneyline, Penn State plus the 3. Kansas minus 22, Alabama minus 24. That comes in at plus 264. Or Duke laying the 6, San Diego State minus 5, or West Virginia minus 2.5. That gives you a return of plus 568. Sia, how would you approach March Madness parlays?
Oh, this is so interesting. I mean, I'm not one to parlay. As everybody knows, I'm usually just taking a play straight up against the spread. But these are actually 2 of these are really enticing to me. I like the first one at plus 253. I mean, I think UVA is in for a fight, and we know UVA's style is sort of they open themselves up to really kind of being on upset alert every single time they go out up against a good athletic or a well-spacing type team. But I like the plus 253. I actually like Penn State plus 3 here. I think Duke's going to win. I think they're probably going to cover as well. But the other one that really intrigues me is the plus 568, all 3 against the spread, San Diego State, Duke, and West Virginia. I actually like all of those teams to cover. So listen, if you're going to engage in sort of the parlay magic, I don't necessarily encourage it, but those 3 teams are very appetizing to me.
Well, Dylan in the chat said, does EC stand for everybody cashes? Well, it stands for me and Sia cashes, right? We just did it less than 24 hours ago. So I guess that would be correct. Maestro, what about you?
Personally, I stay away from parlays, but the middle one appeals to me because I do like Kansas, Alabama. I don't have a strong opinion. And on the other ones, I disagree with a few there. I'm on Texas A&M at less than 3. I prefer it, but I would still lay 3. And I really like Charleston getting the 5 against San Diego State. Just the travel, it's a bad spot for San Diego State whenever they come east.
I have a feeling that later today on Early Edge in 5, that EC is going to take some liberties without me there, and I'll have to keep my eye on that from afar because he's going to do that. We know that. All right, marquee matchup number 4. What's the biggest bracket upset on the board today? There is the whole bracket right there. Little rapid fire, I guess. Which higher seed could be in trouble? Larry, let's start with you.
I'm going to go back to Duke, and it's because of the way they play. When you have the blue chippers and you have the McDonald's All-Americans and all the NBA first-round picks, normally you would want to speed the game up. You would want to get into a faster-paced game and put pressure on the opponent, but Shire doesn't do that. They sit back in a half court, and they let people run their offense. And, Oral Roberts runs their offense with a lot of precision. It's a very experienced team with Max Asmus, and they have other shooters, too. It's not just a one-man team. To me, that is the biggest chance for a bracket buster.
Very interesting. Counselor, what say you?
Yeah, and I'll give credit to Larry because I do think that Charleston, even though I did like that plus 568 parlay, I do think Charleston definitely has a chance to win that game outright against San Diego State. I still kind of lean towards San Diego State given the points, but I can absolutely see the other side of the argument there. But here, I think Furman over Virginia makes a little bit of sense here. Virginia, they've really kind of stumbled here and there all season. We talked about how the ACC is a little weak, and they certainly didn't look, especially down the stretch, they didn't look like one of the better teams in the ACC, and they also suffered the injury bug a little bit as well. So I think Furman has a shot to just outright beat UVA.
All right. Very interesting. Gentlemen, thank you very much. And a reminder again, if you haven't filled out your bracket, get it in right now. I already have the perfect bracket. I went over on CBS Sports Network yesterday. We've already done that. But if you want to play for second place, we encourage you to do that, just like Sia and Maestro will be doing later today. Now, we've got so much to get to. We have other cappers coming on. We've got picks to get to. It's going to be a full show. But here at CBS, we're all about the soccer. Let's pay some of those pesky little bills.
Welcome to the UEFA Europa League on Paramount Plus.
What a night!
Your home for more ultra-competitive, world-class soccer. Where Europe's elite and soccer's Cinderellas pump out that one-of-a-kind white-knuckle excitement that grows with every cut, every cross, and each and every... The UEFA Europa League. Stream every match live exclusively on Paramount Plus.
You're damn right, Paramount Plus. Now, looky. Sinful Saint in the chat says, I'm just trying to be coach and buckets. All the bragging rights I need. I don't care about anybody else. Buckets, the world wants to beat you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Coach. I made the mistake of posting my bracket last night on Twitter, showing who I had in the Final Four, and got some pretty interesting matches disagreeing with everything that I had done. So excited to prove everyone wrong here in March Madness.
Buckets, you are aware this is a competition, correct?
Correct.
Why would you post your picks and show everybody else what you're doing? Maestro, your thoughts?
Yeah. Do you also know that in America we call these games, not matches?
Oh, hold tight, Buckets. Hold tight, because I'll be rude if I didn't bring our MMA expert who's been absolutely slaying it. There is, overseas, a big-time UFC event this week. Danny Brasco, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Coach. Good morning, everyone. Madness is set to kick off, but we do have UFC 286 still. Usman Edwards trilogy fights, a huge card. Came into SportsLine absolutely on fire with my UFC picks, and I got served a slice of humble pie last week, so I got to come back for the people and cash on this great fight card in London. That should be a great one.
It happens, and I know that betting fans who watch the show, we have a huge audience, they like to think nobody ever loses. Little spoiler alert. Everybody does. Oh, but they're perfect in the chat every single day. Everybody hits every one of their picks. All right. By the way, Danny, have you done your bracket and posted it to social media too?
I refrained from sharing it. Those picks will be kept hidden under the vault. But man, I'll be firing bets all day today for sure. And I'm liking the analysis from Sia and the professor here to start.
All right. Now, let's get the soccer out of the way, because I'm still betting soccer. I know some of you may just be focused on basketball. Not me. We've got Europa League on Paramount Plus. We've got Europa Conference League also on Paramount Plus. Buckets. What do you got today, big boy?
I know we've got the March Madness entree ready this afternoon, but I've got a couple different appetizers here to get us till the big games here coming up. So we are looking at these Europa League and Europa Conference matches, and I'm starting with a bizarre one here. AZ Alkmaar is going against Lazio in the second round of the Europa Conference matchup. Are we doing picks or storylines, Coach?
Oh, my God, Buckets.
I'm sorry.
There are no storylines today. Thanks for watching the beginning 10 minutes of the show. Then we just went through all the marquee matchups.
Whew.
So, no, there's no storylines today. Let's start over. Just give me your picks, Buckets. Damn, son.
Oh, AZ Alkmaar versus Lazio. AZ Alkmaar currently lead aggregate scoring 2-1 after they walked into Stadio Olimpico and grabbed 2 goals last week. And after that match, Coach, the Lazio manager Maurizio Sarri said, I don't care. He goes, I don't care if we win or lose Europa Conference League. This competition means nothing to me and my men. He said that in an interview, and now they have to go back to Netherlands and play against AZ Alkmaar in a match that they don't care about, against an Alkmaar side that has not lost at home in a European competition since 2017. AZ Alkmaar draw no bet is currently plus 110 on all major sports books, and that's fantastic value when a team is playing that does not care. For my second match here, we're looking at the Europa match between Freiburg and Juventus. And this is a match that we do not bet until we see lineups. There should be alarms going off here because we're betting on a player prop. And we know, because we're smart bettors, that we don't bet those until we see the starting 11. However, I am looking at Angel Di Maria to have a single shot on target, currently minus 140 over on DraftKings. Angel Di Maria in European competitions is a different beast. Juventus has scored 4 times over their last 2 games. And here's a list of the goal scorers of those 4 goals. Angel Di Maria. That's it. That's it. He has scored the last 4 goals, including a hat trick against FC Nantes in Ligue 1, and then he scored in the first leg against Freiburg as well. Him to have a single shot on target should be minus 500. It's minus 140. There's a little bit of juice. I'm taking it, no problem. And for the third and final pick, I'm joining in on the parlay fun here with a Europa League parlay. Kind of a weird one here. I'm looking at 2 different matches. Union Saint-Gilloise versus Union Berlin. Ooh, that was off. And then I'm also looking at the matchup between Freiburg and Juventus here. I'm taking Union Berlin and Juventus each to score a goal. I do not care who wins. I do not care if this match has 7 goals like we're seeing in Liverpool or 0 or 1 goal like we're seeing in other leagues here. I just want Union Berlin and Juventus each to have a goal, minus 110.
You are just the gift that keeps on giving, Buckets. So the chat, just a couple of comments I'll read to you.
Okay.
Feels like a little Vanilla Ice outfit going on today. John Parker says, Buckets be pimping today.
Coach, we all know who Vanilla Ice is, right? We don't even have to ask me if we know who that is. So we can...
I mean...
Hang tight. If you want to play our little game coming up, right in the chat, hashtag Bucketheads and your Venmo, please. We'll have a question for Buckets coming up in a second. Hang tight, Buckets. I don't know if you're trying to get a date this morning or what, all chained. And all right, now, okay. You are too much. All right, I'm saving basketball till the end. We still got 2 hours. So as Danny Brasco said, there is a big-time trilogy. And if you don't know the history in between these 2 men, Leon Edwards and Usman, you just haven't been paying attention. Mr. Brasco, you're up, sir.
Wow. Well, first of all, let me say, Buckets, this is my first show ever doing one with Buckets, and I refuse to be on a show that he's not on from now on. This is the most fun I've ever had doing a show. The chat is making me cry laughing. This is great. But let me get into UFC if I can straighten my brain now. And yeah, we do have a fantastic card in London. I love backing hometown fighters in London, so that will be a theme of some of my picks, especially when the UFC is trying to promote their stars in these new markets where they're trying to grow the company. So it makes a lot of sense. And let's get into that. First off, let's bet on a guy named Mohamed Mokaev in the prelims here. And Russian name, but he's actually born and raised in England. And I'm going to take him by submission to start things out at plus 110. He's typically a huge favorite. Kid is like 22 years old, and he's been a minus 800, minus 1,000 favorite in a ton of his fights so far. But the way you find some betting value on those massive UFC favorites is picking the method. And he's fighting a guy that's a good jiu-jitsu player, a jiu-jitsu black belt himself, in Jaffe Filho. If you play the jiu-jitsu game with a guy like Mohamed Mokaev, you're going to get your neck caught. And I think he ends up submitting Jaffe Filho in a dangerous game to play with Mokaev. So I like finding value there at plus 110 of submission instead of laying that juice on a minus 800 favorite. We move on up the card and we go into the prelims, and we can find some more British fighters that I think will show off their talents and impress the hometown crowd. I'm going to parlay 2 of them together, both favorites, and get myself a nice plus money 2-legger, and that's one of my more favorite UFC bets. Those guys are Sam Patterson and Christian Duncan. There's actually a guy named Chris Duncan on this one, so make sure you bet on Christian Duncan. They're both just great British strikers. I think they're going to show off their talents in a major way. Patterson, fluid boxer, really tall, lanky guy, amazing cardio, long reach, and just flows in and out of the movement. I love the way that he boxes at range, at mid-range. Looks really smooth and looks like he's going to be a problem with that cardio for his opponents. And Christian Duncan is a fantastic kickboxer making his debut. He's got an extensive amateur career. You don't really see that too often with MMA guys anymore. So I think he's 7-0, but his record, he's far more experienced than his record shows. So put those 2 guys together, plus 106. And of course, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about the main event of the evening, Kamaru Usman taking on Leon Rocky Edwards. Rocky shocking the world in the 5th round when DC and the commentary team, like they said, were writing his obituary as the fight was ending, and out of nowhere pulls a head kick, banger headshot out of the fire to win the fight and take the title. The thing is, Usman has won if they fought 50 minutes now in 2 5-round fights, Usman's won 48 of those minutes. And I just can't unsee that. So yeah, Leon did pull out that amazing comeback win with the head kick, but I've seen 48 minutes dominated by Usman. I think he wins a decision at plus 115 in this one. So Usman to reclaim the welterweight belt. And there's some UFC picks for you. And hey, by the way, since it is March Madness, before I go, my favorite round 1 upset, Kent State as a 13 seed. Kent State.
Look at you. A little bonus lean into the flashes of Kent State. I like it a lot. People in the chat are asking for a buckets Danny Brasco parlay. So maybe the next time we'll do that. We'll do that.
A little international action, soccer and UFC. I like it.
Yeah. Yes. And Jeff in the chat says Buckets probably thinks UFC is the team that beat Florida last night. That's very funny, actually. That's very funny. All right. Now, we got soccer out of the way, but Buckets stand by. We got MMA out of the way, but now it's time literally for the main event of the day. 16 games from noon all the way up to 11 o'clock tonight. It is glorious. So Sia Nejad, Counselor, you, sir, are up next. What do you like today?
Can I ask, does Buckets really not know who Vanilla Ice is? I mean, there's a lot of things I can understand that Buckets may not know sport-wise, but Buckets, you know who Vanilla Ice is, right? Right?
I think we should be focused on the picks right now.
Fair enough.
That's
All right,
the right
I'll
call.
stop. Let's collaborate and listen. That's fair. Totally fair. Okay, so let's get it started with by the way, I've met Vanilla Ice, really nice guy, for the record. Let's start with Duke Oral Roberts. We talked about this in our sort of marquee section. Again, both these teams are sporting amazing winning streaks. Let's give credit to Oral Roberts where it's due. They've won 17 games in a row. Now, you look at those 17 games and their level of competition, it isn't great. And if you look earlier in the season when they played some quality opponents, it didn't work out well for them. Now, granted, that was earlier in the season, just like Duke. These teams mature as they get to the NCAA tournament, but I really like the streak Duke is on. I'm going to the well a little bit too much here. As a brand, we were on them 3 times last week. I was on them myself twice. They covered each time quite comfortably. Outside of Miami, that was kind of a back and forth affair. But I think they're going to cover this one. I think they're ready for Oral Roberts. And again, this is a Duke team that's really grown up and matured. I think these freshmen, I think you could truly call them sophomores at this point with respect to their experience and the trajectory that they've been on over the last few weeks in particular. So Duke ends up pulling away here. Level of competition, I just think is so much better for Duke than it was for Oral Roberts earlier in the season. My next pick here is Utah State and Missouri. Now, this is a really interesting game. Both these teams have been playing very well. I mean, Missouri, I don't think they're getting enough credit for how well they've played. They lost to Alabama by 11 just the other day, but they won 5 games in a row before that. I just think it's a better team. I think it's a more athletic team than Utah State. I will give Utah State credit. Their spacing is great. And by the way, this game's going to be an up and down affair. It's going to be really exciting to watch. Ashworth, Taylor Funk, these guys can spread the floor and they're going to get their open shots, but the same can be said for Missouri. So I think we're so focused on Utah State sort of opening it up that we're not giving credit for what Missouri can do with Kobe Brown, specifically with Hodge. They can get to the basket, but they can also shoot the 3 ball really well. And ultimately, I think they win this game. And as a dog, I'll take the value there. And finally, I have a golf play. We have the Valspar Championship. So let me just throw this in there. It's a round 1 play. They haven't teed off yet. It's an afternoon. It'll be afternoon Eastern Standard Time. So you still have time to get it if it is at your book. And it's Tommy Fleetwood over Brian Harman at -120. Really like Tommy Fleetwood in the tournament this week. Brian Harman hasn't been playing very well at all. So I just wanted to throw that in there. If you want a golf play, this is over on DraftKings. It might be over at some other books too, but it's Tommy Fleetwood over Brian Harman -120.
And a little inside information from somebody who may be calling the actual event today, but the wind is scheduled to pick up in the afternoon. Tommy Fleetwood is a great wind player, as a lot of European players are. Now, as you were giving us your incredible takes, Sia, the chat was just lighting up because they could not believe that Buckets does not know who Vanilla Ice is. I'll get back to that in a second. But somebody in the chat made me think of who Buckets actually looks like today. And I couldn't help but go back into the archives and pull out this. A 1996 version of The Rock. Do you have a fanny pack, Buckets?
I do not, but I will have one later today.
They don't even sell them anymore. They don't exist. Do you know who this is? Do you know who this is?
I know who The Rock is, yeah.
Oh, my God.
He's the voice in Moana. The main guy. What can I say except you're welcome? That guy.
You cannot make this up. You
Yeah,
literally
that's
can.
the voice
Danny,
of Moana. Yeah.
Danny, this is not even a joke. This is just who he is.
I love this guy, man. I love this guy.
Right? So do I. He's like the gift that keeps on giving. Unbelievable. All right, hang tight, Buckets. I'm not done with you. Sinful says, Coach, they still make fanny packs. Sinful, this is a show. I know that. Come on. All right. Now, I actually was not going to give any picks out today. Then I thought to myself, as I was on CBS Sports Network yesterday and giving out my entire bracket, would I be really serving the people if I didn't give out picks today? So I've got two. I'm going to go with West Virginia on the money line. It's a little juicy, minus 150, but as we always say, the juice is worth the squeeze. West Virginia, the way they play, I don't want to give the points. I think they can cover, but I don't want to give it. So I'm going to take the money line, minus 150. Then my other pick, very interesting, Utah State on the money line. It's only a 1-point spread. Sia, who is Utah State playing today?
Well, I believe they play Missouri today, this afternoon.
Oh, very interesting. Buckets, you know what I'm thinking right now?
No. Why would I know what you're thinking?
Sia, are you in or are you out?
I'm in. Play the music.
All right, so what's our number? What is the official spread right now? Are we just going to go money line straight up?
Well, I believe, to be honest with you, it was +1. At some places, it's +1.5 as well. I'll take the point. I'll do +1.
So Missouri's +1? Utah State?
Missouri's +1.
Okay, I'll give you the point. That's fine. Buckets, pay attention. We're doing a show. We're live on the air worldwide right now. Pay attention. All right, so those are my two picks. Maestro, I apologize that you have to deal with these juvenile delinquents today. I really, really do. So let's bring some maturity to the show. You're up, sir.
All right, I'm going to start off with those Kansas Jayhawks. I like them to make a statement against Howard just because the way that Howard plays. They turn the ball over. They allow a lot of transition points. Kansas is fully healthy. Don't know if Bill Self will be coaching, but I don't think that matters in this matchup. They've got to erase the bad taste of how that Big 12 tournament ended. I will lay the big number with Kansas. And another team, the team that knocked off Kansas, Texas, they couldn't have looked any better. And everyone has them going far, and I don't disagree with that. They're loaded, they're deep, they're athletic, they're playing unbelievable basketball. But Colgate shoots the lights out. Colgate is the best three-point shooting team in the nation. They are the best team in terms of effective field goal percentage. They don't turn the ball over. And if you look at the Patriot League, they have been very profitable in the big dance. 10-4 against the number in the last 14. When they're getting double digits, they're getting 13.5 here. I will take Colgate to lose by, say, 10 or 12. And then finally, I'm on West Virginia with you, Coach. I will lay the points up to 2.5. I don't want to lay 3. Maryland is a very good team, but as everyone knows, they cannot win away from College Park. They've only beaten Minnesota twice and Louisville the entire season away from College Park. To me, this comes down to the way that the West Virginia seniors have finished the season, led by Eric Stevenson and Kedrian Johnson, the point guard. He can disrupt Jameer Young, and Jameer Young is the entire key to that Maryland offense. I will lay 2.5 with West Virginia.
Oh, me and the Maestro riding together. I love it. Dylan said in the chat, Coach is literally the best host. Guess what, Dylan? I agree. I am the best host. Renald said, Sia's hot. Sia, go get that money that Coach got me with a couple of months ago. See, I'm an equal opportunist. I will take showdowns with the fans, with Sia, and I will crush all of you. All of you.
Well,
is NBA Sia going to come out?
Well, so here's the thing. I want it to come out, but my showdown record is so good, except when it's against you. I mean, I got to be honest. At this point, I think the chat should be betting on your side, even though I gave out a pick the opposite way. I'm kind of joking.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
I'm kind of joking, but like my showdown record against you is terrible. So the trend is bucked today.
All right.
I'll win.
I got one thing left to do, and it's not what I normally do. All right, Buckets, to award $100.
Oh.
Cold, hard cash. And it's if you haven't written hashtag Bucketheads yet with your Venmo, it's too late. Can you tell me the biggest hit that Vanilla Ice ever had?
All right, I got to think about this because you use the term biggest hit, which means he's not an athlete. So we're narrowing it down a little bit here, which is good for all of us.
God, dude.
Hit, so he's probably either a singer or something in movies.
Should I have just asked you if you knew what he was?
No, I'm trying to. I'm
This is
talking
getting
through
worse. This is getting worse. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
Give you a hint. His name is in the name of the song twice.
Twice. X2.
Twice.
Vanilla.
Oh my God.
Oh, wait, no. Ice Baby. Is that the guy? Ice Baby? Ice Baby?
That's the guy.
That's the guy?
The guy. You got it, man. I can't believe that.
Vanilla.
Song has vanilla twice.
Vanilla, baby.
Vanilla. Are you?
I love that
If
song.
I didn't know Bucket, so I would think that he's completely messing with us, but he's not. You just said vanilla.
Were your headphones on when I said Ice Baby though?
No, I didn't hear you say that.
I did
You
get
got
it,
it.
right, guys?
He got it, but like,
Okay.
but like with
He
no
got it.
credit
Okay.
awarded. With no
Okay.
credit
Matt,
awarded.
Matt says buckets with the buzzer beater there at the end. All right. So one lucky person will get a Venmo for me. It may take me a little while. I'm a little busy down here, as you guys saw this morning, but we will pick a winner from the chat. If you typed hashtag Bucketheads and your Venmo, you are eligible. Maybe you'll have $100 to bet on the games today. Buckets, look what you did for the people without any hints whatsoever. Good job, son. Good job. It's embarrassing. All right, grab your paper. Danny's over there. It's like, what brand did I just walk into?
Dude, I'm in tears.
All right, grab your paper, grab your pencil. The counselor's on Duke -6. Got a little showdown on Missouri plus the 1. Then a round 1 play. And if you haven't watched the early wedge yet, what are you doing? But it's too late now. Tommy Fleetwood over Brian Harmon. Then buckets. You heard the scintillating analysis. AZ Alkmaar, draw no bet, plus 110. They're playing a team that literally doesn't care. They don't care. And then how about one shot on goal for Angel Di Maria, -140. Then we're getting creative because soccer's been so hard for everybody. Union Berlin to score and Juventus to score. All you got to do is score once, -115. Then the Maestro, he's on West Virginia, -2.5. He's on the Kansas Jayhawks, laying the big 22 over Howard from Des Moines. And then Colgate, plus 13.5. Then UFC on Saturday night, pay-per-view from overseas, Leon Edwards, Kamaru Usman, 3. We're going Makayev by submission, plus 110. Usman by decision, plus 115. Should be another 5-round banger. And then a little parlay. It's a great way to bring the number down because in MMA, you can get some really big spreads or odds. Sam Patterson and Christian Duncan, put them together. Little tasty, plus 106. Then 2 plays from your boy. West Virginia on the money line, -150. Then I like Utah State on the money line, -130. So essentially, the money I'm sending out here shortly, just say thank you, Sia, in the chat, because essentially that's where it's going to come from. So thank you, Sia. By the way, hit that like button for me. We have a huge audience this morning with 1,000 people, and you guys are so lazy sometimes. If I don't say hit the like button, you don't. Come on. I can only lead you to the water. I can't help you drink. All right. What a fun show this morning. Do not forget many more picks. We'll break down all the nighttime games with AB and the crew on Early Edge and 5 at 4 p.m. Eastern time today. So with all of that being said, damn it, I love this so much. There's only one thing left to do. And I believe you all know what that is. You've got your marching orders. Let's take all of these tickets straight to the pay window. For my entire crew, I love them all. Buckets, of course. Danny Brasco, the counselor, Maestro, AB in the chat, and on the ones and the twos. Snake doing work, getting ready for later today. The crew's working. The crew's working. We grind for you so we can win with you. It's what we're all about right here at the Early Edge. Good luck.